All right, so let's hope that Jeremy gets it organized and we'll get going. So yeah, without further ado, here's Stu.
Okay, thanks, Brooke. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank the college for the opportunity to present. My contact information is on the title slide, so feel free to contact me if you have any questions that come to mind after we're done this session. Just a brief introduction. The Forest and Prairie Protection Act and associated regulations that govern wildfire management in Alberta. The purpose of the Forest and Prairie Protection Act is to enable the protection of Alberta's forests and prairies from wildfire. On average, over the last 5 years, Alberta had roughly 70% of fires that were human caused, and that was due to an increase in population as well as industrial activity in the forested areas of Alberta. In 2011, Slave Lake and surrounding communities were impacted by wildfire, and as a result, the Flat Top Complex Wildfire Review Committee provided recommendations, one of which was specifically cited to the need to update legislation and regulations. And the importance of the updating of the legislation was further highlighted by the 2016 Fort McMurray wildfire, which incurred the highest insurable losses in Canadian history at approximately $4.67 billion. The amendments in the Act align and support the early learnings from the wildfire. And with this slide, the Act enables the protection of the forests. Mentioned earlier, it was amended and came into force December 9th, 2016. And Agriculture and Forestry is the wildfire authority under the Act in the Forest Protection Area of Alberta. We'll talk a bit later on about Forest Protection Area and the non-Forest Protection Area. The Forest and Prairie Protection Act establishes the start of fire season, which officially runs now from March 1st to October 31st every year. It provides authority for forest officers, fire guardians, and firefighters. It allows the issuance of fire restrictions and or bans during high wildfire hazard times. And it enables the cost recovery for the department when we fight wildfires outside of the forest protection area in areas such as municipalities, municipal districts, counties. The Act also provides conditions for conducting industrial operations and other human activities and identifies offenses and penalties. And the Forest and Prairie Protection Act applies to all lands within Alberta with the following exceptions, which are urban municipalities. And under the Municipal Government Act, urban municipalities are defined as cities, towns, villages, summer villages, and urban service areas of specialized municipalities. An example of urban service area would be the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo, the service area there that encompasses Fort McMurray. And the Act does not apply to federal lands, which include national parks, First Nations, reserves, and DND lands. However, under Section 6 of the Act, the Minister may enter into a fire control agreement on lands mentioned above as exceptions. A brief mention of the Municipal Government Act, Section 75. It refers to the Forest and Prairie Protection Act and outlines the application of the Act to municipal districts and hamlets within the forest protection area. Basically, a municipal district is not able to pass a bylaw regarding wildfire to a part of a municipal district that occurs within the forest protection area. But despite the above, they may pass a bylaw for non-forest fires, so structural fires that apply to the part of a hamlet or, say, a rural subdivision that is within the forest protection area. Some key sections of the Act, I won't go through these, I won't read them out in detail. But, sections to be aware of are Section 6, which covers fire control agreements. Section 8, payment of municipal expenses. Section 14, the closure of forest areas during fire bans. Section 17, the fire season. Section 18 covers outdoor fires. Warming fires and flare stacks are the fires that are permitted without a fire permit. Section 21 covers the fire control orders. Section 23 and 4, fire control plans and minimum firefighting equipment. Pest management under Section 28, and then offenses and penalties are covered under Section 37 and 37.5. Forest and Prairie Protection Regulations, they were formerly known as the Forest and Prairie Protection Regulations Part 1. These regulations cover fire prevention measures, including fire permits and issuance provisions for administrative penalties. And this update came into force as of March 30th, 2017. And the Forest and Prairie Protection Ministerial Regulations, formerly known as the Forest and Prairie Protection Regulations Part 2, covers fire hazard reduction as it pertains to debris disposal, firefighting operations, and minimal equipment requirements. And this regulation came into force as of March 30th, 2017. So the Forest Protection Area regulation, the forest protection area on this slide is the pink area on the slide. This regulation establishes and designates the forest protection area in Alberta, in which agriculture and forestry is the agency responsible for wildfire suppression in this area. And it's based on protection of Alberta's forests, ecological considerations, and fire control considerations. Essentially, this is very, very similar to the green zone or the green area. It just provides more of a buffer on the green zone, buffering it out a little bit. Fire control zone regulations. This regulation takes the forest protection area and breaks it up into numbered control zones, and these zones provide for management boundaries during the implementation of a fire ban and fire control orders. Another regulation to be aware of only covers a very small area of the province. The area that appears yellow on this map is the non-permit area regulation. No fire permits are required within these areas at any time of the year. However, provisions under the Forest and Prairie Protection Act and regulations aside from permits apply to these areas, as well as ministerial orders. So you could have a forest closure or fire ban within those areas. And that is it. I ran through these slides fairly quickly. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so we'll just give everybody a chance here to type any questions in to the chat window, and we'll address them as they come in. I think we also have our speakers on if anybody else wants to try using their audio as well. That's another option. And it looks like there is some questions coming in, so we'll give folks a chance. And as I mentioned in the chat window, we are going to record this and post a link on the Forestry Commons. I've also been posting the link onto the exam study group, the Facebook group for the exam studiers. So it'll be on the Facebook group as soon as it's ready, and the college has been very, very good lately about updating the Forestry Commons, so expect a link there for this presentation tomorrow. And we do keep other past presentations. I think Chad and Elena have both presented on this topic recently as well. It's a lot of very, very similar material to what Stu just presented, but we do find that everybody has their own take on it, and the way some person explains it might resonate more with others. So here we've got a question.
In terms of the last year regarding the regulations, big changes would have been in terms of the administrative penalties, as well as allowing tickets to be written for a number of the violations, as well as stricter standards in terms of debris disposal, 1 year window as opposed to a 2-year window on that. As for other information, I can get that if anyone's got any other specific questions, and I'll just go back to my contact information.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, don't be shy. All of our presenters are quite happy to answer your questions at any time. So give them a call, send an email. All right, we have another question. So it's asking, is anyone looking at alternative harvest silviculture systems to make stands more resilient to fire? And as Stu is the fire smart guy here, that's probably a...
We are looking at a number of things, say with species conversion. A lot of companies will balance out their land base. Say closer into a community, they might, if they're a conifer operator, they might regenerate that to deciduous, and then say a deciduous block that's further out from a community, regenerate that to conifer, as well as harvest systems. A lot of it comes down to debris disposal, and I'm sorry, I'm not that much up on harvest or silviculture, but definitely that is something that we do encourage companies to do through innovation and through our partnership with FP Innovations. Don't know if I answered that question. And just in and around communities, both on municipal lands and crown lands, we do have our comprehensive Fire Smart program that a lot of the area will be thinned or pruned, and various other forms of vegetation management done, as well as some mulching.
All right, well, we still have questions coming in, so we'll just give those folks a moment to finish that. Well, we might be done. Still, I'll hang out for another couple of minutes if anybody does have a question coming in. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
short and sweet, but I think it was very much to the point. So thank you, Stu.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I see Jolene's typing, so we'll wait for that question. So the question is on a certain section, and we're going to give Stu a minute to actually look up in the Act what it says regarding commercial operations.
Jolene, I can double check with Chad on that, but my interpretation would be in terms of anything related to oil and gas or industrial activity as well as forestry activity.
Yeah, so maybe if Jolene, if you want to send Stu a reminder, he can contact you with that when you check with Chad.
Yes, yes.
Or you can send us your email privately, and Stu will take that home and make sure you get the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, Chad and Alina are the legislation experts.